Hey, what's up guys? Sir, I'm on here bringing to you a small little update to the Danger Lunalight deck list that I posted about a week ago. I just had some minor changes to try and optimize the build slightly. The meat of this video is actually going to be a kind of compilation of sample test hands and how I'm gonna like play out randomized 5-card hands that I'm gonna shuffle up my deck and try and see what we can work with, just so you guys get an idea of how this deck operates. I'm gonna edit that in post just because like sometimes I mutter to myself when I'm like actually trying to like play hands out. I might want to take back plays. Things might not be very well articulated. So just editing in post allows me to just look at things from a more analytical point of view as opposed to trying to like think in the moment and like plan stuff out accordingly. But yeah, I'm just gonna quickly go through this. Last time I just tried recording this video and it took like 8 minutes to just get through the deck, and I don't want to spend that much time in it. I want this to be like a couple minutes and then you guys can see the actual test hands. So we got monsters. This didn't change. Still got 3, 3, 2, 2, and 1. I've been waffling between 1 and 2 bird. It's just that the second one can come up if you mill it off Curious and you like summon the first one off Serenade Dance. It could come up. Just like extra extenders and more level 4s to dump off. Kaleido Check is fine. It can help unbrick you as well. Gets Serenade Dance engraved, which is good. Grepher, Armor Knight, Zephyrs for the main dark stuff, and then I added the Distrito. So yeah, I talked pretty highly about this card when I was talking about tech options in the last video, and I decided I wanted to try and include it just because it gives more options. Synergy with Grepher, you can pitch it special Grepher, that's fine. You can also dump it to grave if you have the luxury of doing so. And it's just nice, like if you can hit it off Curious, or like if you can sometimes end on Nat Beast as a thought and Dragster if you open well enough. So like, just having that extra option is like super good because that just covers all your bases pretty much. Dangers, Nessie, Snack, Bunny. Somebody in the comments asked me about Mothman. I like it as like its discard effect because it's very good, but it just doesn't guarantee the body on board. And you don't use the danger effects in hand enough to justify using it that much. So I think it's a good card to run, just like in theory, but I think these are just slightly better. And then we got the Bulb, as well as I upped the Fan Knight count to 2 with the Cloak. Reason being is that you can dump this off the Bardache, so you can search this, special it because obviously the PK Link is a Fan Knight monster, and then use this for Reaper to make that beast more consistent. It's just so you don't have to like rely on an extra Tiger usage for the Reaper play. It also makes it so that if you draw it, your Bardache is just not dead instantly, so that's really nice to have, and I'm glad I decided to include those. Spells are Tenki, Perfume, Goods, which is like the card that I've always been like hesitant about, but the reasoning is because now we're trying to like access specific cards in the form of Tiger mostly, and we want Perfume access prior to Curious because we need to dump Zephyrs Engrave somehow after we search it out for Strix. It allows for Curious to be able to send Bulb to make that beast more freely, or send Distributor to make Dragster more easily. And if we can get access to Perfume, or just even Serenade Dance to try and dump the Zephyrs if we don't need Perfume to search, either way, we're trying to make better use of our Curious by not just having to send like more combo pieces to like Kickstarter engine. We want more starters so that we can get into Curious, which is supposed to be the extender. So it allows Curious to actually like be more of a toolboxing option as opposed to just getting our feet off the ground. This kind of just helps fill that role, and I've kind of optimized some of the play strings to where you don't need every card in hand, so the discard cost isn't actually that bad. So that's that. We got Called by the Grave, Rhoda, Foolish, Soul Charge. I dropped Reborn. Simply put, it requires you to already be playing the game, but you need specific cards, mostly your Dark Engine. If you have your Lunalight engine and you have Tiger access, it's kind of redundant. Soul Charge is just more impactful, and I think that like it contributes to bad hands. Like if you can't really play, it's like you don't want more extenders, just would rather have more starter cards, and that's why Foolish Goods does the job better there. PK, Rank Up Magic, Serenade Dance, Sherry Brigandine, and Fogblade. So this is 44 cards. The other bill was 40, and I was like, I don't want to go over, but fact of the matter is that like statistically speaking, you're actually likely to open up about as likely to open up starters while still maintaining, you know, decent consistency, and you actually reduce the chance of like drawing your one of bricks. So we got the 2 fusions, the 2 synchros. So I cut Nightmare Unicorn for this card, and I hate that because I like Unicorn a lot going second. Just breaking boards is fantastic, but having the versatility of this is really nice. So for what it's worth, I think it's fine. Tornado, Nightmare, Force Strix, Azathoth, Thanatos. I wouldn't cut any of these. Like, one might consider cutting these 2, but the fact of the matter is that sometimes, like, your Bardiche play isn't live. Like, you might mill the rank up magic, you might draw both of the Famine Knights. Both of those situations aren't too likely, but it's possible. So you just want more rank 4s to make in those situations. And this basically all stayed the same. I hate running this card still because of what it is rather than what it does, but that's about it. So this still ended up being about 6 minutes, but you know, I feel like I just can't stop myself from talking. So yeah, we'll cut to the sample hands. See you guys in a bit. Alrighty guys, welcome to the combo, or I guess I should say the test hand portion of the video. So you can see here I'm just shuffling up because I just got done with recording the deck profile, so you know we don't want to see brick hands of multiples. Just gotta make sure that we have everything straight away. Now you're gonna notice that actually the 4 test hands that I do are all quite different and display a different thing that the deck is capable of doing, which is awesome. So we open up pretty well here with Armageddon Knight, the one of, as well as Tiger and Perfume, I believe. So Armageddon Knight often will send the Yellow Martin, just because you want to have the access to Serenade Dance in your hand, especially if you have Perfume access already. If you don't rely on Curious for it, then it's really nice to have in your hand. Right here I'm using Tenki to search for Kaleido Chick. Reason being is just that, you know, you kind of want to just have access to Kaleido Chick early in the combo sequence, just so that if things go wrong, you have it in your graveyard, you can set up for next turn, things like that. But here I'm contemplating if I want to use Serenade Dance or hold it for the Zephyros, because usually we want to Serenade Dance, pitch the Zephyros, it's probably the trifecta, right? But I decide against it because I have the Foolish Goods in my hand, so I can just send another Perfume if needed and just get it off that way. Because right here my Tiger doesn't have any targets actually, so I kind of am forced to use it in this manner. There's actually ways to mitigate that, and there is a hand that later on that will actually, spoiler alert, end up with something slightly different with a similar hand. But anyway, now we have a bunch of stuff going for us. We can go ahead and summon another Kaleido Chick, dump Wolf, so we don't draw into it. Go for the Force Strix, leaving the Armageddon Knight as a warrior on board. You know, the more types diversity, the better, because we want Curious, of course. So we're going to search for a Zephyros with the Force Strix. And then we are able to now basically be good to go. Here I'm basically just thinking if I want to use Tiger first, and of course we are going to use Tiger because we need a third type on board. Kaleido Chick once again, just abuse that card over and over again. And then we go for a Curious, and because of the way we have things set up, we can actually go for the ball play, which is what I was talking about in the deck profile. You know, the whole idea is we want Curious to be able to send whatever we need for the matchup, as opposed to trying to just set up our plays. It is possible to do that as a backup, but you know, that's kind of a last resort sort of thing. You can see there that I actually milled the Phantom Knight Rank Up Magic card, which sucks a lot, and I was very upset because it's the third card that we milled. But it's fine, because we actually just have to structure a play a little bit differently, not going for Azathoth since it's no longer possible. It's fine. Foolish Goods, send a second Perfume as stated to pitch the Zephyros. Go ahead and bounce the Tiger back, bring back Kaleido Chick. Kaleido can trigger again, you know, just get as many level 4s in grave as possible. Just because like a top deck Lunalight by itself usually won't really do too much, so we just kind of want to, you know, dig for other things later on. But we're gonna go ahead and Martin bounce the Tiger and get our Bardiche online. Since we don't have to worry about which traps to manage, we're gonna obviously get the Shade Brigandine. You guys see that I make a mistake here, and I will catch it later on. It takes me a while to catch on to it, but don't make Thanatos if you know the rank up spell. You obviously can't do anything with it. Yeah, just make a Nightmare there and it's fine. You'll notice actually that I triggered the Bardiche to pop my own Tiger, in the pendulum scale, and that's pretty important because it allows you to go for additional rank 4 plays. And you can see here that I'm noticing my mistake, and I'm like, thumbs up, we're fine. It's okay, we just triggered the Bardache since Nightmare is also a Dark Xyz monster that is special summoned to its zone. From there we can make Tornado Dragon, special the Phantom Knight Silent Boots from our hand, use it with Curious to make Reaperdokus, and then use the Bulb in our grave that we milled off the Curious to go ahead and get our Nat Beast out after we go ahead and thin out the deck a bit more, getting our Fog Blade, of course. So we have a Fog Blade negate, we have Nightmare that can flip 2 monsters face down, we're basically turning off spell cards, and Tornado Dragon is able to do its thing, so that's awesome. So in the second replay here, we can see, or replay, I say replay as if, you know, I'm commentating over YGR Pro. That's not actually what's happening. But yeah, shuffling up here, of course. And you're going to see this hand is going to look quite a bit different. It doesn't look actually very strong because we have not really any Lunalight cards, but we can see that actually the turns around really quickly. And the Danger Engine is actually what helps facilitate us making Curious without having to do the awkward play earlier. You know, in the last example where we had to use Serenade Dance quite early, and if we didn't have access to that second way into Perfume, then we would have kind of been a little bit in trouble since we didn't have a reliable way to get Zephyros to grave otherwise without using Curious for it. But as you can see here, we can just go ahead Armageddon Knight and dump the Yellow Martin. It's a reoccurring theme. You want to do that with Griffer as well if you have a way to make sure Serenade Dance can go to grave. Foolish Goods, milling the Perfume. As you can see, this is why Goods is actually beneficial to the deck. You just really want more ways to get Serenade Dance and Zephyros into the graveyard without relying on inconsistent cards. Dangers are not quite good enough, like in hand. You know, the hand effects to try and like discard those cards. It's not good enough necessarily because you can't control that. With Goods, you can at least control it. But the reason that the dangers are there is just for type diversity as well as, you know, synergy with Greffer. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead Tiger, bring back the Yellow Martin to overlay for the Forstrix, and this time we're okay with using the Armageddon Knight even though it is a warrior because of the Tsuchinoko that we have, the Sneck, because it is a reptile. So we're basically guaranteed no matter what happens to have it on board. We're gonna set our 2 spells. I designated the Tsuchinoko as 1, 2, 3 and the Zephyros as 4, 5, and 6 to get my die out here. Roll a 4, which is excellent. Wouldn't matter much either way because we had ways to, you know, we could have gotten the Zephyros out of hand since we had Serenade Dance to use anyway. But just goes to show we have good things. And we got lucky with the Emerald Bird because actually the Serenade Dance does not send for cost, it sends for effect. So it actually triggers the Emerald Bird to bring back the Yellow Martin here, as you can see. And we're going to be able to go for our what's it called, a Curious play quite nicely here. So summon Curious. Now I think this isn't the part where I make the mistake just yet. I don't even know if it's in this one. I know I remember I make a mistake a little bit later on, or at least I'd make a not quite as optimal play as I could have, but it's okay. So yeah, we're gonna mill 3. It doesn't really matter what you mill at that point. Like, if you mill well, that's great. If you mill Destrudo, that's broken. But if not, no worries. So we're gonna head and bounce it with Zephyros, bounce the Tiger, that is, of course. Just want to keep abusing that card as much as humanly possible. And we can see that we are just trying to dump as much as possible. Go for the Bardache. Go ahead and set the what's it called? The Shade Brigandine. And I think this is the mistake if I didn't use Martin's effect in grave. Yeah, I did not use it in grave, yeah. So we actually didn't need to go for Shade Brigandine. We could have just gone for anything, honestly. Because we had a Soul Charge set. So we could just Soul Charge for 2. I ended up Soul Charging for just 1, which kind of seems odd, but like there's not really any way to make reliable link zones to where we can have like that many extra deck monsters. The most we can usually muster is 3. There's not really a way to open up the leftmost zone. And the center zone is obviously taken up by the Bardache that cannot be linked away. So Soul Charge, gonna bring back the Armageddon Knight so we can dump Destrudo and get a Dragster on board. Really good stuff. And obviously you have to understand like when it's good to use the Bardache to pop your Tiger versus when you shouldn't do it. Usually if you do it if you have to get like another 4 on board for Nat Beast. But you want to like try and avoid it as much as you can, especially if you don't have another follow-up for Tiger next turn. If you have multiple like Tigers or like Perfume Engrave that you didn't use yet, then that's totally fine. But you want to always make sure you have Tiger in scale so you can just use it next turn. Go for the Gold Bulb. This is basically the same portion as last time. So you can see that like we can make Nat Beast the Azathoth on our opponent's turn as well as the Dragster if we open strong enough. So that's really good. So on to the third sample hand here. Now this is going to be quite interesting here because I believe this is the Lunalight heavy hand. Oh no, the last one's a spoiler. Alright, so this is double Tenki, double Greffer, Foolish Goods. And you can see here that the Foolish Goods really just helps out here. It helps out so much. It just fixes our hand exponentially. It's crazy. But we're going to go with Tenki, search the Kaleido Chick. It's because we just want more Lunalights in grave, of course, for when we inevitably get Tiger on board. So we can pitch it off the Greffer and then send who else, of course, as you can guess by now. Now, you don't always want to send Yellow Martin, just keep that in mind. There are actually certain scenarios, I was testing around yesterday actually, where I actually just sent Zephyros straight away. There's multiple ways that this could change, like if you open up Emerald Bird with like the Serenade Dance, you know, sometimes things just happen where you kind of want to structure your play differently, of course. You always need to adapt, and that's kind of the whole point of showing off these examples. Go ahead, grab our Tiger after we dump our Perfume with the Burial Goods. This helps a lot, as you can see. Like, we just need access to Tiger. If we don't have access to Tiger, we really can't do any of the combos that I'm showcasing here. Granted, there are 12 ways to get to her, but like, you don't always want to use your Tenki on, you know, getting the Tiger as much as like I just kind of said you need to get Tiger, because you need other pieces for Tiger to work. Obviously, it's not just get Tiger and you instantly win if you have no Lunalights in grave. But yeah, we went for the Force Tricks play. Really good stuff. And I think we bounced the Tiger earlier with the Yellow Martin there, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, we're able to just go ahead and set up quite a bit and just do some really cool things, cool shenanigans. Mill 3 out the Curious. I cannot remember if this is where I decide later on that Bulb isn't the best solution. Obviously, like if you're in tournament, you can't take that back. But this is why you practice, to make sure that like, oh hey, you know, this is what's optimal. And I think actually here I realized, yeah, I realized here that I used my Martin bounce already, so I only have Zephyros. So I only have a way to get 3 monsters on the field, which means that I can't make Bardache and a rank 4, which makes Thanatos totally useless. In hindsight, I probably would have just not gone for Curious at all in that instance, and probably would have tried to go for the Bardache first off, which is something that I actually do in the next hand with the Lunalight heavy hand. But here I realized, oh shoot, sending Bulb really doesn't do anything. So yeah, sending Destrudo would be much better. And here I'm like, should I put Kaleido back to show? I was like, nah. Like the Mill 3, I'm just gonna assume that like you replace the Destrudo with the Bulb and it would have stayed in deck, and that's where they would have milled anyway, and everything would have been exactly the same. That's my not correct assumption, but that's the assumption I will make for the sake of convenience. Go ahead and make Dragster. This is Dragster rank 4, which is quite good against a lot of decks. I mean, this is a pretty decent board. You still fall up for Tiger as well as 2 cards in hand, which is quite a rarity, honestly, to have cards in hand afterward. On to the fourth one here. You can see a pot shuffle method's a little bit different, but not too much to where we really are, you know, worried about it. Now this is an interesting hand because it shows that even with a bunch of Lunalight monsters and like no dangers, no darks, no warriors, anything, you can still make a really nice field. Alright, so we go ahead and search Emerald Bird because we opened the what's-a-who's, it's the Yellow Martin. So we want to pitch it to search for the trap and try and unbrick, and we actually drew into Burial Goods, which was godly. We could have worked without the Burial Goods, but this just makes things like way easier because now we just have a free avenue for Serenade Dance, and it curbs the reliance on Curious to the point where we actually don't even summon Curious in this combo. I know I like to call my deck Tiger Turbo into Curious every time, but it's not every time. There are cases where you just really want to weigh your options and see if Curious plus Bardache is not really achievable, because that requires a 6 monster investment, and with 4 Strix it's actually 7 monsters, so you really need to make sure that you have enough monsters on the board to like actually be able to follow up with that, because after those 6 or 7 monster investments you need an additional at least 2 monsters. And honestly, if you're only summoning 1 rank 4, you could probably just go into Rusty Bardache anyway, right? So yeah, we're gonna go ahead. We use Tiger to bring back the Yellow Martin, I believe. So here I'm just contemplating when I want to use Zephyros or not, and I think I just changed my mind a couple of times. I'm like, okay, I want to rank up, and then I think I like changed my mind. I'm like, maybe I don't want to do this, or did I not change my mind? I can't remember if I changed my mind. Okay, yeah, I think I was considering, I was considering turning those 2 into Wee Witch's Apprentice, to go for Curious, because obviously Wee Witch is the spellcaster. That's the only reason like why she sometimes comes up, and I don't like it, but happens. But here I'm like, alright, this is fine. We don't actually need to go for Curious. Here I'm like, we could make Wee Witch, we could bounce with Zephyros, that gives us a Wing Beast, and then Reborn with Tiger, that gives us the Beast Warrior, of course. But I decided against it. I decided to just go ahead, summon the Bardache anyway, which allows us to go for a lot more variety of options, since we can go ahead, send the Cloak. And I think, yeah, here I'm like, oh, I'm like reconsidering like what do I want to do. Like, do I want to like, yeah, and then I realized, okay, if we make Wee Witch's Apprentice first, we can actually make a rank 4 on the right side to that rightmost zone, and then swap over to Bardache on the left. And I don't think I used Martin Bounce yet. Yeah, here's the Martin Bounce now. So as you can see, like, I'm basically exclusively using Martin's Bounce for Tiger in these sequences, just because like you need Tiger to resolve as many times as you can. So yeah, we swap over Bardache to the other side, allows us to have Ancient Cloak access, of course. I'm thinking, do I need to set Bardache, or sorry, Brigandine, or do you need to send or set Fobblade? I realized later on that I can actually set the Fobblade, because we don't really need another level 4, since we have access to, I believe, another Tiger in our hand that we searched off the Perfume earlier. So I'm thinking, okay, we can go ahead, special summon, use Wolf in the Scale to Pendulum Summon 1. So we Pendulum Summon the Kaleido Chick, and then now we go for the Thanatos, and then we go Bardache, pop the Tiger, Tiger effect, bring back a guy, bring back probably the Lunalight, Kaleido Chick, and then we can go ahead and scale the other Tiger and go for another rank 4 play. So this is just like extremely strong. Not really any, specific fancy combos, with Bardache. You'll notice I didn't actually search the boots there, and that's because I actually still have Shade Brigandine in deck, so next turn if my Bardache survives, I can just go ahead and activate set, and that's fine. And we ended on a couple of rank 4s. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. Really hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and I'll catch you in the next one.